Welcome to Planet Watch for Virgo 2021. Mary Jane and I are here to talk about what's coming up. How are you today, Mary Jane?
I'm good. I'm good. Just fine. Looking kind of forward to a birthday this month.
I
It's
know.
I'm getting kind of up there where birthdays aren't all that much fun to think about, but still, I always like to have a party. So
Exactly. Any excuse for a party.
exactly right. That's
Yeah.
the way I figure it. So
And you've got your birthday coming up on the 13th.
the 13th of September, right? And fantastic date that I've always kind of enjoyed because everybody else goes, "Ooh, the 13th isn't on a Friday." And I said, "No, it's always worked well for me." So
No, it's always been really good for you.
yeah, yeah, I've had some super birthdays. Well, meanwhile, it's something you have to organize yourself, right?
Right.
It's all in here. It's all just numbers. So,
It is. Well, and you always manage to have a good time anyway, no matter what you're doing.
this is true. This is true.
You are never one to shy away from a party.
You know, in the French language, we talk about la Vierge sage and la Vierge folle, huh?
Oh,
The straight life virgin and the crazy virgin, and I Virgo, and I kind of like to stay in that second category now.
the Magdalene, sort of.
I
Yeah.
outgrew the Vierge sage. I outgrew that one.
Right. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So we've got some things to look forward to in Virgo. What's going on? What do we have to look forward to?
Well, let's talk about the Virgo energy first because that'll help us
Yeah.
explain some things that are coming on. Virgo, as we've seen in the past, always, every year, is a mutable sign. That is to say, a cadent sign. It's a low energy sign. You know, the signs go, the energies follow. There's a strong cardinal sign. Then there are the secondary succeedant signs, cardinal signs like Aries, uh, like Capricorn, like our friend the Balance,
Libra.
the Libra, right, right, and Cancer. These are beginning parts of the season. They're shoots of energy that are very strong, and we can pick up on this energy that just makes things move. Now, the second signs, the fixed signs, are steady. They're going to even out this energy and kind of let us glide a little bit and see what we can do. They're signs of accomplishment,
Mm.
construction, using these bursts of energy to construct. And then we get into the mutable signs like Gemini, like Virgo, like the Sagittarius, like our friend Pisces, that are involved in making synthesis. So
Mm.
we and doing the analysis, counting the beans, doing the addition, seeing what's a result then of all of this constructive energy.
Right.
So we're
Immutable meaning that it can change according to what's going on around it.
well, yes, and in fact, it's all of these four energies, the mutable signs, are involved in a period of change.
Mm.
This is where the river gets close to the waterfall, you see, and before getting involved in yet another cardinal burst of energy as the waterfall falls. So what we're looking at here is a period of change, a period of instability for a lot of reasons, for a lot of conditions. It's a period really of analysis,
Mhm.
taking stock, getting ready for next big change. And that's what we're going to be seeing a bit here in Virgo this year. So we're going to work around that. It's a good sign though, especially remember it's the harvest. This is time to gather up what we've accomplished, gather up our stock, our recolt, our
Our
cultures have come
harvest.
in.
Yes.
We're putting things away in the barns, putting things away in the silos, doing the addition. How are we going to sell this stuff? Counting the beans, you know, that's what we say. But it comes down to taking care of all the little bitty picky Virgo details that need doing around the harvest time and around getting ready, in fact, for the winter, getting ready for another energy. So that's kind of what we're involved in this year, especially. It seems kind of special to me because, well, let's have a look.
Yeah.
First of all, as the sun comes into Virgo, that's on the 22nd of August. I don't know when your podcast is going to go out, but anyway, the 22nd of August, and for that first week, the Mercury that's in charge of Virgo. This is the ruling planet. It's a mental planet and has a great deal of again, this bean counting energy going on, taking care of the details. This is Mercury's job in Virgo. He's there with Mars, and they're both opposite Neptune, which creates a little bit of fuzzy thinking. So all of the counts aren't going to come in just right away. We're going to have to double check everything that's going on as far as taking care of business, as far as doing your accounting and so on. Check everything twice. It's kind of like a Mercury retrograde with this opposition to Neptune. But as I said, that's the first couple of weeks that we're involved in that, and then we'll kind of get over it.
Wonderful. And
Did you have a question
I
for me?
well, I know coming up I think it was the 27th, 28th, we've got something that we need to be aware of.
Let me think about that. Oh, yeah, that's actually that first week is when the sun is going to be making, or the Mercury and Mars are going to be making absolutely this opposition to Neptune. So this is creating through that second week in, well, even up till then, this first week involved in Virgo is going to be more or less devoted to this taking very careful care of details and so on. It is not going to simplify work. We're going to come against this phenomenon a little later, but we can already talk about a certain difficulty talking to insurance people, talking to bankers, talking to our investors as well, and also our accountants, because it's very difficult to get the message across. As I said, we're going to see a period of crossed energy, crossed communication, and this doesn't look particularly easy. We're going to come again against this phenomenon a little later in the month as well. But this first week does look difficult, really toward the end of this month of August, where we're going to just have this difficulty in nailing down little details.
Okay, okay.
I can say for people who might have dealings with their insurance companies, for instance, they're making insurance claims. Nail down every little picky detail you can, because otherwise your insurance people are just not going to pay any attention to you. Take the pictures, make all the reports as closely as you can, and the same is true in speaking to your bankers about or your boss about a pay rise, for instance. Line up all your details and all your arguments really, really well. And this is how you might be able to get ahead of these confused issues this time.
Okay, good to know.
As we get ahead here, I'm jumping a little bit ahead toward the end of the month as well. On the Monday, the 30th, and also 30th of August, and also Tuesday, the 31st, there's a period of domestic arguments, domestic issues that have to be ironed out between partners. And it looks really like turning around the home issues, taking care of things at home. There might be an important sale to be made, or an important purchase to be made. Anyway, these details seem to just get out of control somehow. And it's necessary for all of the people involved to stay calm, listen to the other fellow's arguments, listen to the other fellow's suggestions, and try to work out something that's going to be happy for everyone concerned. This seems particularly important on the 30th. And then on the On the 31st, though, we get some help from Mercury that's in a very nice aspect to Saturn, and it sort of says, look, there's a way to do this constructive thinking. Once again, let's look at the details, let's look at the long term, the long view, and this is going to help a lot at evening out some otherwise kind of unnecessary arguments, in fact. These discussions, especially on the Tuesday, the 31st, seem to turn around changing people's habits, our partners' habits, our
Mhm.
children's habits. You know, the one comes in and says, oh, I just so wish you would put your dirty laundry in the hamper, you know, this kind of stuff. And these kinds of arguments that can add up, and just and generally will make for an unpleasant situation at home. But with a little constructive thinking and a few good suggestions about how to change some habits, uh, these situations should be able to work out more or less on their own.
Right, right.
That
That's
seems to be the major thing about the end of the month, in fact.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know. Good to know. Of course, I'm always looking at world events, what's going on around the world, around our country, here in the States. Of course, you're in Europe, but looking at all of these kind of bigger picture things sometimes, such as COVID. Is
Right.
there anything we need to think about, forward to with COVID?
I'm as I said, this Mercury opposite Neptune and Mars as well, and also our little friend Hygia, who's important in questions of health. I must tell you, all of my folks out there, about some asteroids that I've been looking at very
Okay.
closely. One of them is called Hygia, which is where the word hygiene comes
I
from.
was wondering, yeah.
Yep, that's it. And this little asteroid seems to have a great deal to tell us about our taking care of our health, about health issues,
Hmm.
about people who become involved in health professions, for instance, are often very
Sure.
much marked by Hygia. So here with Mercury, Mars, Hygia in a tight conjunction,
Hmm.
and all of them opposite Neptune,
Hmm.
the arguments are still not passing. They're still not happening.
Mm,
There's too
right.
much. There's too much polarity.
It is.
I'm preaching from my own parish here, but Mercury involved in well, all of these planets, in fact, involved in Virgo these days have everything to do with health. Virgo is one of the planets of our health condition,
Hmm.
um, right? Just general good well-being.
Hmm.
And Mercury is particularly active in this particular domain. So these three planets are fighting it out with Neptune down here in her fuzzy thinking place in Pisces, where uh, the connection of good sense, what looks to me in my very own way of looking at things, of pure good sense, just doesn't make it. Just doesn't make it.
See, and that's so frustrating.
It really is, and it's putting a damper on the whole some other very nice uh, planetary aspects that are trying to help out. But this is still a major opposition, and just I don't know. I kind of don't understand why this is so hard to understand outside, but there it is. There it is.
There it is, right. Okay, so um that is,
So
let's say
yeah,
we have
we're going to bounce around there a bit. Now, there can be some openings, and I'm hoping for some openings a little later toward mid-September when the sun is coming, and especially, yeah, the new moon on Uranus is going to make some sort of new scientific statement. We're going to get some new numbers in. We're going to get some new information in, and this could help considerably in this particular
wow.
argument.
Okay.
So we'll have that to look forward to. We'll see where it goes.
Right, absolutely. And then what about all of the conflict over in Afghanistan? This is something I've
Yeah.
been watching, just I've been so paying so much attention to this lately. I mean, it's a mess.
It's really so hard. It's a throwback kind of phenomenon. I think, especially now in this period of we're still in a period of Leo and into Virgo. We've got this incredible opposition to Pluto that's in still in Capricorn, where
Sure.
he's been hanging out all these years. Well,
Mhm.
this is the last planet that's there, but he's like, especially in his retrograde position, he's just chomping down on this idea of a new force, new
Progress.
forces of authority.
Right.
It's a sort of a knee-jerk reaction
Right.
to some old thinking, and so it
It's
hasn't
very
been.
old thinking.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very old thinking, and until well, until we get a couple of more months ahead, and we'll see how if this is going to even out a bit. But this is the shock period in any case,
Right.
where this turning back towards something that's so old and so outdated is still happening. There are movements of the pendulum, and this movement could be gentler than the Taliban that we've known in the past. You have to hope so. I'm thinking though that we're going to see some uh, some reaction on the ground. We're going to see the local people are not going to sit still for this as they have in the past.
Right.
And so I'm keeping my fingers crossed all the time that, in fact, there are still some voices out there that are saying, no, this is not going to happen the way
Right.
you
Yeah, at
think.
some point it's up to them at this,
Mm,
right? It's up to them now.
this is it. And the women's voices are going to be the most important and are going to be
Yes.
the loudest. And I think this time they're going to hold a lot more clout than they have in the past.
Good.
I'm
Good.
thinking so. The same Pluto is in square to my other new friend here, who's called Eris. Maybe we've talked about Eris before. Yet another asteroid
Mm-hmm.
that represents women's rights, women, strong women. This is the woman
Full.
warrior,
Yes.
and she's here standing up to Pluto just quite exactly in a square right now, and is finally saying, "Well, keep on trying, but we're not giving up that soon." And I
Reminds
think
me
this
of
is,
Lysistrata.
yeah, yeah, really, really, there's going to be a bit of that, I think, and there's definitely room for this argument. So I'm hoping also in other points in Africa, this seems to be a time when women's rights are coming up to the surface, and wow, it's time. It's good.
It's time. It's time. Yes, these ideas are just so outmoded of, holding down half of the population, not allowing them to express themselves, be educated, have their own autonomy, et cetera, et cetera. It's
But
time for change. And so that sounds like that
exactly,
change, at least the atmosphere for it, the climate for it,
for sure,
be
we're
there.
we're right on time, and astrology doesn't lie as far as that goes.
Right.
Timing is everything here, so let's get it on.
Absolutely. And what about the climate? Wildfires, floods, all of those type of things.
Yeah.
What's the astrological climate for the Earth?
Um, Again, we're in such difficulty with this Mars opposite Neptune. It's astonishing, in fact, to see at the same time these incredible fires, which is a very Leo affair. Actually, we're coming out of this fire sign that's sort of sponsored all this time. Um, but anyway, seeing this incredible fury of fire all over, and then incredible floods at the same time that are very much a Neptune and Pisces domain. So where's it coming from? It's coming from the opposition right now of these planets, that's for sure.
Mhm.
For the rest, I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
Right.
I'm hoping so much for the from the power of Saturn and Jupiter that are making their way through through Aquarius these days, that we're going to see some new technology that are at least going to help
Right.
change things a bit, change some thinking. But it's just out there. It's just out there. And until some habits get changed and until some thinking gets radically changed,
Mm-mm.
I don't think every time there's a meeting, I start shaking in my boots, because they come away saying, and all the big powers come away saying, oh yes, by 2035, we're going to have, zero. So we don't have that time.
No, it's got to happen yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. We're already on borrowed time. And so I don't know, until uh, some very speedy change of attitude comes up, I'm not very hopeful, actually, because it has to come from these same power wielding people.
Right, G7, G8. It's got to come from, the those who can actually affect great change. But of course,
Sure.
we all can make changes and we all can make a difference collectively.
Definitely.
We
I think so. And this is why
Right.
we're talking about the end of the month and this necessity of changing
Yes.
habits.
Yes.
Maybe we can work that gently into the program, for each and every one of us on a very personal basis.
No, I think that might be what it takes. And also
Hmm.
for, we were talking about some changes in women's rights and women's issues. It may take all of us pulling together.
Yes, indeed.
Because if we wait
Indeed.
for the governments to do it, they might, we're going to be waiting for a while.
That's for sure. Yeah, especially now. I don't know what's happening. I'm a little bit behind as far as stateside news, but I've heard threatening thunder coming from issues like Roe versus Wade and
Yeah.
other very female-oriented
Right.
issues that are being hashed out yet again, uh,
Right. Even
still
the
and
equal
forever.
pay amendment. Yes, absolutely. These things, it's just you would think that, it wasn't it wasn't 21 or 2021. You would think it was 1964.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of thought some of these things had been hashed out, were done deals already, but I guess not. I don't know.
I suppose not. Which that brings me to another topic, of course, is voting rights. So, what do the skies look like for getting some sort of voting rights passed?
That's really interesting. And I think the movements of Saturn and Jupiter going through Aquarius right now.
Mhm.
Jupiter's getting toward the end. But Saturn's going to be in here for a nice long time, another year and a half at least. So we've got time to do the legislation. We've got time to nail this down. And actually, Saturn again is looking pretty healthy as far as that is concerned. Saturn,
Good.
who is the speaker of uh, people in power, resolutions, authority, governments, and so on. This is a Saturnian affair. And now, in this attitude of reform, the very nice sextile coming off of Chiron, who seems to correct a lot of these issues, painful issues. I'm thinking we can get something done in the seating of this government. I certainly hope so. It's time.
It is time. It is time. That is wonderful. That's great news.
It is great news. And what I find personally pleasing is that Saturn is running out of these old arguments. Finally, it's like
Right.
they're shooting their last bullets. And finally, it's just common sense, do the numbers. These are citizens out there and they've got their own rights as everyone does. And so finally you have to give up in the face of common sense.
Right. Absolutely. Pretty soon, the pretext wears pretty thin.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very hopeful that Saturn going through Aquarius is going to help a lot in this reform. It has every time, every 60-year cycle that Saturn is been in this connection with Jupiter. It's been very performant. So we'll see if this is going to shape up
Good
for us.
to know. Yes, yes, yes.
Very good to know. And again, with the help of women, it's going to be, there's a very nice trine between Venus and Saturn as well that we're going to talk about in a minute. That is going to be very helpful as far as giving women a voice to decide these things. And I think it's going to be the female senators, the female deputies that are going to be the most active in turning this around.
Sure. Many times it comes down to the women.
Yeah, almost always.
Would get
Almost
stuff
always.
done.
Yeah. And especially now, when this little asteroid Eris is being so noisy and so kind of in your face that the whole generation, in fact, has been lifted up and standing for rights, insisting on women's rights, and that's going to go on.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, Eris. I'm assuming that is Eres.
Eris.
Eris. And so, does Eris have a place in mythology? This is a name that I'm not familiar with.
Well, Eris, if you recall the story of the apple of discord, where uh, Paris, the young prince, has to go in front of these. Who's there? Athena's there. Who else was there? Well, Aphrodite was certainly there, and there was a third goddess who uh, who promised to Paris the hand of the most beautiful woman in the world.
Right.
Well, actually, this argument came up against Zeus, but he wasn't having any of it. He said, "I've got to live with these women for the rest of my life, my
Right.
natural life.
Eternity.
I'm not getting involved in this argument." So he turned it over to Paris, and Eris, who was she's a real troublemaker. Huh? She's not at all the nice little goddess that
Retiring
we'd like to
daisy.
think of. No, she's a typically bad news. Anyway, she's the one who throws in the apple of discord and makes this competition just take off. This was getting way out of hand. And it was all her fault. It was
Stirring the
basically all
pot.
her fault.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So
Yeah,
this woman swoops in, stirs the pot, and then watches what happens.
exactly.
Right? Makes
Exactly. Yes.
popcorn and
She's a lot about that.
okay, I love it.
Which is why, on her nice days, we see this Amazon, this female warrior vision. She has a lot. She's kind of a female Mars, if you will.
Sure.
Uh, yeah. In fact, when you see her sign, it's like Venus with a penis. It looks exactly like that. So all of this to say that she has some parallels in her sort of go get 'em attitude, and
Sure.
she's not one to take no for an answer, and likes to get in and kind of stir the pot a bit.
Right, right. Okay. Well, it's interesting. I do really admire the Greeks and Romans for having these wonderful mythologies that we can use to describe what's going on in our world, in our universe.
In my vision of astrology and using astrology, uh, especially the Greek mythology, has always been the
Yes.
ultimate best school of psychology that one could
Right,
ever imagine.
right.
Everything's there if you know how to dig around it. And certainly they've went through everything, all kinds of good times and bad times. So I don't know, it's just almost a reflex for me to go back and see what the gods were telling us at the time, and what we're still doing to each other, basically, actually,
Absolutely.
for good
Very,
or bad.
very long foresight for the Greeks in these naming
Oh,
conventions and
I spend a lot of time in consultation. In fact, when we come across a planet or an asteroid that's particularly pertinent, I spend a lot of time explaining the historic value of this planet and what it's capable of letting us do and making us do in this life.
Right, right.
And I always find it just very, very interesting, first of all, and extremely helpful.
Oh, extremely, because these are archetypes that we do, unconsciously adhere to. I mean, just like as
Precisely.
with Shakespeare,
Yeah,
these overarching themes, archetypes, etc., that we find ourselves, walking into.
right in the middle of.
Right. It's like, well, you
And
can't make
it's
this up
no, that's it. And
because
I'm
it
not
was made
making
up
this up.
thousands of years ago.
For sure. For sure. And it's an important lesson for us, I think. It's very useful anyway.
Very useful. So, before we start wrapping up, what bears repeating? What do we need to remember? Or what else do we need to know?
I did want to underline the repetition of this early Mercury, Mars, and Neptune opposition that's creating such confusion that we're going to see again on Tuesday, the 7th of September. This is not a good time to be looking for favors or asking for a pay raise or a promotion. Nobody's listening. It's extremely hard to deal with insurance or banking companies. If you're looking for bank loans or other things, you have to have solid, rock solid arguments on your favor, in your favor, in order to get anybody to even get anybody's attention during this particular 2 or 3 days. I'm saying Monday, Tuesday, maybe the 6th and 7th. There's one other thing I did want to indicate, though, before going too far. Um, Monday, the 6th of September, and also Sunday, the 19th of September, are very, very useful times for new ventures of all kinds. You have to be careful handling the technical aspects, but and look very carefully at details. But there's a huge surge of this Uranian energy that's happening with this new moon, especially, and it looks very, very comfortable to sort of shake the boughs a bit, shake the trees a bit, and see what falls out. It's a great time to be starting new friends, new adventures. Wonderful, especially Sunday the 19th. There's also a very hot weekend, speaking of passionate times, new friends. The Friday, it's the 3rd of September, it's a passionate time, hot weekend coming up, for good or bad. This could be very exciting physically, just sensually, sentimentally, a little less so.
Okay.
Just want to handle these, toss this out for whoever can pick up the ball.
Right, right. Why not? Why not?
I
No,
would say, have a good time, but don't believe everything you hear.
fantastic. Yes, yes, yes. And of course, the six, you're talking about a bad day for contracts and banks and things like that and insurance. That happens to be Labor Day. So,
Oh, right.
that's
Oh, yes.
maybe taking us offline a little bit during that time.
Quite right. That's right. Oh gosh, that's a long weekend too. Well, it's an exciting time to go out kind of looking around. It's very good for
Sure.
new ventures, new adventures. Um, so maybe it's not the best time to be, going to the bank and arguing things out. It's pretty good to have a bank holiday on those dates.
Right, right, exactly. It's kind of like a natural reprieve during that
Ex-
pesky
Exactly.
time.
That's it. That's it.
So yes, in French, of course, we say "ça tombe bien." That it works out.
It works out quite well, quite naturally sometimes. So that's the
Exactly.
best news.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've got for you. As I said, it's a sort of a gentle month, a little rough and tumble times as far as getting messages across. Be careful in your communication, all kinds of communication.
Right.
But and take good care of your health. The Hygia is there trying to pass the message. Take good care of yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But with that in mind, it should be good times.
Oh, good. Okay, and of course, we will put all of the pertinent dates in the show notes so you have a handy reference guide. Yeah. So we'll come together again in Libra 2021.
Indeed.
In Libra. All right. Well, happy birthday, Mary Jane. I hope
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to make it happy.
you have big plans.
Nothing yet, but I'd like to make a little excursion somewhere just to go out and try out my passport a little bit.
Right. Well,
My COVID certificate, to make
fingers
everything happen.
crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed that, that can happen. But I know
Yeah,
whatever you do, it'll be fun.
yeah, it should be a good time.
Absolutely. All right, we'll see
Best
y'all again in Libra.
in Libra. Okay, all the best to everyone. Bye now.